Okay, we are going to go ahead and go into our next data view, which is Test Remediation. So if you are looking at your Aware template data views, this is Emily Noun from Region 17, and I'll be providing you some support on how you can create this data view for yourself, for your district, for teachers, whatever it may be. If you are logged into Eduphoria, you're obviously going to go ahead and go into Aware. I direct you 99% of the time. I start in the bottom left hand corner with create a new data view. Okay, here we go through a wizard. We can just say next to this screen. And then it's going to ask us to identify the data that we want to look at. Again, if you are creating a template for teachers to use, it does not matter which data piece you select. The only hiccup is going to be don't select a retest because those don't have standards released and that may catch you. And also try to pick the most recent year just because of phase-in and EOC and new fields identified with those particular reports from TEA. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually do 4th grade reading, and then I'm going to click next in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, and so if I'm looking at my data view called Test Remediation, then it asks me to summarize this by either the campus or the individual student. So kind of ask yourself, when I'm talking about test remediation, am I going to be having campus administrators looking at this data report, or am I going to have teachers? And you may say both, but who's going to be predominantly looking at it more? Let's hope that it's teachers, and if that is the case, let's go with the individual student summary. If it is a campus principal, then you may want to go with campus. We're going to do individual student. Okay, so then it asks us, where do you want this data to be set? We did pull a star file, so if it was being pulled for administrators, you always want to do your red clock, which is where students were when the test was administered, for accountability purposes. But since we want teachers to be viewing this report, their default data view is where students are now. That's what we want them to see, so we're going to go with that one. Alright, then it asks me to select the columns that I want to view. So what kind of information do I want to pull in? This one is kind of a hodgepodge as well of a lot of different pieces. So I'm actually going to leave it blank as well, as I have on some of the others. So we're going to do next. Again, it asks me, do you want to summarize the data? If it's teachers, like I always say, good rule of thumb, it's easier and for them to digest less information than to digest more, in which case we're going to leave it blank and we're going to click next. And the last thing it asks is, do you want to edit your view before actually seeing the results? And we do. So we'll click that box, then we will click View My Report in the bottom right hand corner. And now we're in our editing screen. So the first good rule of thumb, title your data view. Off of our template, we are calling it Test Remediation. If you don't like this name, if remediation scares you, if you just don't like what this is being called, you can call it whatever you want, whatever may suit your fancy. Maybe incorrect responses, student missed questions, whatever it may be. But I'm going to keep it as test remediation. And then we're on our tables tab. We do not need to pull in any more assessment views. So tables, I tell you to rename that in your brain as tests. This is the test tab. We only need this particular one, so we are good to go here. Now we're going to go ahead and go to our columns tab. And from our recipe, it tells us that we need several different things, none of which are raw score or percent score. So we're going to go to the bottom and we're going to click clear. The very first thing it asks for is question number. So if I were to guess where question number was going to be, I wouldn't think scores, categories, learning standards. I would probably think student responses. So I'm going to click on responses, and I was correct. So the third one is going to be question number. So I'm going to click on it, and drag and drop. Voila. The next one is learning standard number. So I can assume that's probably not going to be under responses, but it will probably be under the folder called learning standards. So I'm going to click here, and we need learning standard number right there. Drag and we drop. Perfect. The next piece is correct responses. So I'm going to guess we're going back to responses. Correct response. Perfect. So I'm going to drag and drop that one. The next one says student response. Lovely. Same folder. Drag and drop. And then the very last one says student correct. Same folder as well. Hallelujah. Drag and drop. And then this one says that we need to add a filter to this one. And it says equals no. So I am going to highlight student correct. I'm going to go to my filter in the bottom. And equals is already selected. So I'm going to keep equals. And I'm going to choose no. As in always, it is a good rule of thumb to go ahead and click on your field to make sure that it saves. It did, and it took it, so we are good to go. It also tells me one other little piece of information. It says hide column. So because all of the responses will be the student's incorrect response, we don't need this one repeated throughout the data view telling us that it was incorrect for every student. So what we're going to do to just avoid that information, we're going to go to the bottom, and next to add a filter it says hide. When we do hide, we can tell that something actually happened because the text is gray rather than black, and so it is going to hide that information, but it's still keeping the fields that we asked for. So, do we have anything else that we need to do? Perfect, that looks like that's good to go. So instead of clicking save, which seems like the next logical thing, you actually click on update in the bottom right hand corner. It is thinking, and it's going to go ahead and render that data view for me. Lovely. Alright, so here we go, and I missed the step that said that we actually want this data view to be toggled as well. Sometimes it is nice to check yourself before you switch the information and everything looks correct, so I'm going to go ahead and toggle the information by clicking the button that says compare across test. Awesome. Okay, so this is more of what I am wanting. If you see, again, we have, just like learning standards less than 50%, we have a lovely bar graph for teachers. It has the kiddo's name. We have question number. We have the learning standard it is tied to, which this is a whole long confusing number. Stick with your 6.A. The last two are going to be the indicator of what standard you're looking for. The rest is the long TEA number. Underneath that, we have the correct response was B, and then the student response was actually D or J, depending on if it was an alternating question or not. And so we have what they selected versus what was the actual correct response. And we have that going all the way across. So these are great for you to cut out and give to students. If you go up to print and you export to a PDF, it holds the data sorts, and then you can cut these out for kiddos to have. Sometimes if I wanted them to actually do their own remediation and not have the correct answer, I would either use a Sharpie and black this last row out, or you can edit your data view and you can remove it so that students can see what their response was versus what the correct response was. They won't necessarily have that if you go ahead and take that option out. So it's just totally up to you on what you want them doing as far as their remediation. So all of this is correct. So now I do want to hit my save button. Perfect. My view has been saved. I do like to check myself and the screen refreshed, so yay. I can then go to my saved views, and it should be the very last one, Test Remediation. Perfect, it's there. Now the very last step, if I want to share this wealth of knowledge to every teacher that I work with, I can go to my share button in the upper right hand corner. If I'm a district administrator, I can click on set this as a district view, share it with all my teachers, and make this a quick view. Why you want to make it a quick view is it then becomes an option in their drop-down menu so that all teachers can be able to disaggregate data by this view. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. If I am not a district administrator, maybe I am a campus principal, then I want to select the middle option, my campus view, for my campus teachers, and I want to make it a campus quick view. But since I'm at district, I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Wait for the screen to update and flash, which it just did. Perfect. So now I always like to check myself because I hate to email people and then they're like, it's not there. So we did this particular template for reading 4th grade. So let's check ourselves by going to Quick Views, a different test of any kind. So I'm going to go to 3rd grade math, English. Populates my data. When I go to my drop box in the upper right hand corner, the very last option is Test Remediation. Perfect. Let's wait. There it goes. So now even as a 3rd grade math teacher, I was able to see the template that we set that was originally tied to reading. So whatever the data I have in the system, it's now set for any teacher to be able to disaggregate data by this particular view. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you and hear from you in the next video. Have a good day.